Hi, everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. I am man who slept 11 hours last night. Yeah, I don't know. For the second day in a row, I had really low energy and sleep issues. I guess sleeping 11 hours isn't really an issue, but it is kind of unexpected. Um, but yeah, I don't know. My mornings have been okay. Usually the tiredness hits me like midway, like around 3 o'clock, which is a little weird. But anyway. That is my problem. That is not yours. Today, we are here to work on Elixir stuff. The Exercism Elixir track, to be specific. I believe today we will be talking about recursion. Talk about recursion. Okay, so recursion functions are functions that call themselves. A recursive function needs to have at least one base case and at least one recursive case. A base case returns a value without calling the function again. A recursive case calls the function again, modifying the input so that it will, at some point, match the base case. Often, each case is written in its own function clause. So in this case, we've got a base case of a function named count that accepts an empty list that pattern matches an argument of an empty list, and it will return 0. And then we have a recursive version of count that takes a list, which we cut it up into the head and tail, and then that returns 1 plus count tail, thereby counting the elements. Cool. So yeah, we're going to work on that through an exercise called bird count. We'll read the initial instructions here. You are an avid bird watcher that keeps track of how many birds have visited your garden on any given day. You decided to bring your bird watching to a new level and implement a few tools that will help you track and process the data. You have chosen to store the data as a list of integers. The first number in the list is the number of birds that have visited your garden today, the second day, and so on. Checking how many birds visited today. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to do this locally. So we'll use Exercism to download it, undo, close. If you close a session tab or window by accident, you can undo it with edit undo. By default, you have 5 seconds to undo, but you can adjust that timeout. Interesting. We're learning a little bit more every day. Alright, so we're going to change directory into that, and we will open a file called comma, which we don't want to do. We want to open up the current directory. Okay, so we're going to open up bird count. That can go over there. We'll open up the test file, and then we'll open up the README, and the README can go over there. Alrighty, moving right along. And we will collapse our test module so we can do test at cursor and validate we're doing the steps correctly. Number 1, check how many birds visited today. Implement bird count today function. It should take a list of daily bird counts and return today's count. If the list is empty, it should return null. So bird count 2 today. Okay. That should be pretty easy. So we said list, I think first. Returns the first element in list or default. Default is null. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we'll test at cursor for the first one, describe today. And that looks like it works. Cool beans. Now we'll do number 2. Increment today's count. Implement bird count.increment day count \1 function. It should take a list of daily bird counts and increment the today's count by 1. If the list is empty, it should return 1. Okay, so let us do this. So let's do the expected content one. So this will be today and tail, and this would return, let's say today +1 ++ tail. That should work. Now we need to account for the empty today. So if the list is empty, it should return 1. Yeah, so let's do this. This will return. So increment date count gets called. If it matches an empty list, it'll just return 1. if it is a list that is full, then we'll break it into today and tail, and yeah, we'll see if that works. Run a cursor. That looks good. All right, moving right along. Number 3. Check if there was a day with no visiting birds. Implement birdcount.hasDay without birds ? Function. It should take a list of daily bird counts. It should return true if there was at least one day when no birds visited the garden, and false otherwise. All right, so now we're going to get into some fun recursion stuff. So we're going to need 2 versions of this. I don't think we need it up there. We need it down here. And so this one we'll say today and tail, and then we'll say when today equals 0, we'll return true. Then we don't need the end down here. And then this one will actually go below it. Otherwise, it's going to call itself. So we'll say list, but we only want the tail, so we'll say today tail, and we'll call has birds with the tail list. And this is going to be yelling at me. Oh, when today? What's the complaint? Variable tail is unused. Okay, so we'll just not capture that with an underscore. And then today is unused. We'll just capture that with a underscore. And let's see, has day without birds. What a sad day that is. Alright, we've got 2 failures. Yeah, empty list. Does it mention if there was at least one day when no birds visited the garden, false otherwise? I think this one would just be has day without birds, ? And then we'll just capture the list and say do false. So it'll get called and it'll break out the today value. And if today equals 0, then it'll just say true. Otherwise, it'll call has day without birds. And if it's still a list, it will take the tail and call the tail. If that doesn't match, which basically means that the list is empty, then list should be called and return false. That should be good. So we'll run a cursor, and it looks good. Cool. All right, number 4. Calculate the total number of visiting birds. Implement birdcount.total function. It should take a list of daily bird counts and return the total number that visited your garden since you started collecting data, i.e. 40905 returns 18. I'm wondering if I should solve this with recursion or with just a function, like another function. Total list. I will just solve it with a function. I don't. Yeah, we'll just do that. List dot reduce. Or no, well, you could do enumber dot reduce. I don't know if we've really learned enums yet, though. I mean, one way to do this is to make it a total. To do like, so we'll say define total list an accumulator. Accumulator would default with 0, and then you would take the top of the list and you would just keep passing. I don't know if that's how they want us to solve that. I mean, it does work, I think. Let's see here. So let's say you would want to call total new total equals accumulator plus list dot first. When length list is greater than 0. Actually, we'll break this out. New today count and tail. Just tail. I'll just say tail. You can kind of break that there. And that'll kind of guarantee that the list is more than one because it won't be able to match otherwise. So then you can say total is the accumulator plus today count. And then you would call total again with the tail and the new accumulator, which is the new total. And then what you need to do is you would need to match empty list. So this would be and that would need to default to 0. It might yell at me about defaulting to 0 in a yeah, we need a header, a unimplementation and then we don't have to do 0 here. Okay. Kind of curious to see if this will work. It did not work. Move up. Alright, sum total 1 0 if no bird watching did. Right, that makes sense. Sum of bird count. So this failed because the first argument was a 4. The second argument was a 0. Bird count /1. See, I feel I'm not implementing it with one argument. I'm implementing it with 2 arguments, and that feels not what they would want. Because if we look, total 4, that would be 13, that would be 21. Oh, that's just because there was only one element. If there's only one element, one count, and an accumulator. Well, you don't need an accumulator if there's only one. It'll default to 0. So that would just be accumulator plus 1 count. Defaults to accumulator defaults to 0. If total is an empty list, it just returns the accumulator, which would be 0, probably. No. It would be 0 if the empty list came in 0, but at the end of it, the accumulator would always be 0 because the tail would be an empty list. If there's only one element left, then it would return the accumulator plus 1 count. That should work, maybe? No. The following arguments were given to total 1, this huge list, and this huge list. This huge list and this value 0. Oh, I don't want a comma. I don't want a comma there. I want a line there. Okay. Is this still needed? Oh. Yeah, I don't think that would be needed. Okay. Alrighty, moving right along. Number 5. Calculate the number of busy days. Some days are busier than others. A busy day is one where 5 or more birds have visited your garden. Implement bird count busy days function. It should take a list of daily bird counts and return the number of busy days. That's cool. So this should be similar to the other one. If we're going to use the accumulator style. Define busy days list accumulator 0. And just like before, when the list is empty, we return the accumulator. We'll do that as one line. We don't need, we can do it as one line up here too. Yeah, I don't know if I like it all collapsed like that. I don't know. Yeah, I'll keep it like that. That's comma, and that is a bracket. And then we need the real one, so I'll look at that, the formatter will clean it up for me. Alright, so today's count and the tail. And then we do, did we do ifs yet? I don't think we've done ifs yet. Case. Yeah, we haven't done ifs yet. Alright, so we're going to solve this without an if statement, which is fine. We can do it with a where clause. Where, or when, today count is greater than, what was it, 5 is busy? Busy days when 5 or more birds is 5 or more was greater than 5. Do that. Otherwise, we just want to add 1. Yeah, I don't think we need it otherwise. Well, it needs to call do divine busy days and it's basically just this, but remove the guard and then remove the incrementation. Today count is unused, that's fine. Let's try that. Run a cursor. This failed. So 0, 5. Return 5. So a call to bird count.busyday with a list 0, 5 returned the value 5. Why did it match 5? Accumulator should default to 0. Alright, so Busy Days gets called with a list 0 to 5. And it does not match this first one because it has more than one item. So 0 gets put into count today. A list of with the integer value 5 gets put into tail. Today count greater than 5 should be false. So it shouldn't match that. And then this gets called 0 and 5. And it should just call total tail with a single list. A single element. A single. Well, that's fine because that'll get so. And then the value AC, which is 0. When I'm calling total. Oh, this is copy paste debugging right here. Not debugging, but causing. Busy days, busy days. All right, so this is still failing. So now it turns the value of 0 rather than 5. So okay, so that gets called. Today's count is 0. That's a list with an element with an integer element of 5. Today count is not greater, so it shouldn't match that. So now it will call 5. That accumulator plus 1. Why does this not work? Some of these work. Well, return 2. Something's really off here. Alright. See, normally I would have just done this with a reduce, an enum function. But we haven't really learned enums yet, I don't think. And so I'm pretty sure they want us to solve this with recursion. Alright, let's just come back. Look at this from. Some days are busier than others. A busy day is one where 5 or more birds have visited your garden. Implement bird count at busy days. It should take a list of daily bird counts and return the number of busy days. So busy days comes in with a list, and we're going to do an accumulator, and that's going to default to 0. If it's an empty list, it'll just return whatever the accumulator was. If the list has elements, then we're going to grab the current today count and whatever the tail is. And then we're going to say if the today count is greater than 5, call busy days again, but increment the accumulator. So the accumulator should be 1. And then you'd call the tail. If it doesn't match, then ignore the today count and call busy days plus the accumulator. Let's add matched as busy, and then we'll put in our today count tail and we'll do the accumulator. Alright, let's test. We'll test these one by one. Run a cursor. That failed. Really? Let's start bird count. Why is it off? 71. What's 71? Why is it off a little for me? Run a cursor. Why when I say run a cursor? Oh, because the cursor's on that line. Oh, lovely. Run a cursor. It's saying why? I don't know why. Line 71. Why is it not testing that? I just want you to test this first one. Yeah. How come when I uncomment this line and I put the cursor there and I say test a cursor, it runs the next one? I don't know. Where is my output? Clear this. Run a cursor. Include test. Why am I not seeing? Is it not matching? That ever? Let's do this. Matched as non-busy. We'll actually capture today count. Non-busy. Okay. I mean, that makes sense because the very first one is 0. So then it should call tail. It should call busy days tail with the accumulator. But I don't see it. I don't see it ever calling it. It doesn't even call it twice. What is tail? I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why. Line 78 matched is non-busy. Tail was just an empty list. Which is why it doesn't render. It is getting called the second time. Oh, greater than or equal to? Is that all I'm missing here? That looks good. I think that was it. What are you complaining about now? Today count? Yeah, I know, it doesn't do anything. So let us... Is that the last one? That was the last one. Let's run on file. And they all pass. Okay, wow, that was embarrassing, but I guess that's the whole point of recording these, is that I want to share my embarrassment with the world. Cool. Is there anything I would change? I mean, I'll leave it like it is because I think they want us to solve it with recursion. Although I'm sure once we look into community solutions, we'll find lots of people solving it with enums and so forth. So there you go. And it passes with one robot. Essential. What do you not like about this? Our Elixir analyzer has some comments on your solution that may be helpful to you. Check the comments for things to fix. Does it line up? No, it doesn't. It doesn't like highlight the line that it's actually complaining about. The purpose of this exercise is to teach recursion. Solve it without using list comprehensions or any functions from the modules enum, list, or stream. Okay. Yeah, I am using that up there. Okay. Well, we'll solve it without that. That's no problem. I can accommodate that. So, let's see here. Today, we'll say today counter. No, we'll just say today. Today, tail. It'll return today. Otherwise, it doesn't need to do anything. We'll just ignore that. And then, if today is empty, if breakout today, it should take a list. It should return nil. So we'll say define today, and if it's an empty list, we'll return nil, and we'll actually shorten this up. That should pass everything. Yeah, that looks good. All right, we'll submit it, and we'll check out our iteration 2. We are analyzing your code. That's weird, because it shows it as passed on here. It says passed robot 2. I don't know what robot means. I don't know what the 3 means there either. Other. Oh, are those... Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it would show that. I don't know why it shows as passed here with 2 robots. But then over here, oh, now it says passed. But I don't know what 2 robots means. Because those all pass. I don't know what those mean. At all. I will ask. Alright, so let's see. Day without birds. They match 0 explicitly. Do I do that? No, I do day, today, when today equals 0. Yeah, you could just do 0 there. That kind of makes sense. It's probably better to do that too. H is greater than or equal to 5. Is T. They don't do any they don't do any accumulator things. Oh, they just do the math kind of inline. H plus total C. Interesting. That is probably the preferred method. Well, it is, because they asked for an argument with a function with an argument list of 1. That's fine. I mean, my brain immediately went to an accumulator as an argument because it's kind of what I'm used to in like the enum reduce functions. But yeah, no, this makes sense. 1 plus busy day T. I'm not going to change my solution, but I do want to acknowledge that that makes a lot of sense. Let's see what all other people came up with. Total. Yeah, they use the enum, enum sum, enum member. These are definitely the ways I would do it in a production environment, but we haven't learned enums, and so we're trying to avoid that. Cool. Yeah, this looks pretty similar. Alright. Cool. I think that is going to finish it. So our stuff is passed. We're going to mark it as complete. We will publish our iteration, and we have completed bird count, and we have learned recursion. I actually never mentioned this during our review, so if you've made it this long, you get a bonus point. One of the cooler things about recursion in Elixir is the fact that you don't have as much a concern about the stack growing. So in older languages like C, basically every time a function would call itself, the stack would kind of grow, and Elixir implements a thing called like tail recursion. It's definitely explained better than I will attempt online and in books like Elixir in Action. But this enables recursion on Elixir to work in a much more stable way. And so yeah, definitely check that out. We have unlocked 4 new concept cases, char lists, PIDs, and processes. All processes. Wow, that's cool. And then 5 new exercises. All right, cool. And so that was recursion. And then next time, I don't know what we'll do. We have a lot of choices now. Docs. I like docs. We might do docs next. But I'll make that decision tomorrow. For now, I want to thank you all for watching and accommodating my my buggy code and my thinking through it. Hopefully that inspires you to yell at the screen and tell me what is wrong. But yeah, no, this was fun. And I want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, let me know. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.